Welcome to the Empower LEP podcast. I'm your host, Jana Parker. I am a licensed educational psychologist, a group practice owner, and I'm an owner and mentor at Empower LEP. Today, I host Becca Marcus and Meredith Eaton. They are from Move Forward Virtual Assistants. They are a forward-thinking, client-centered virtual assistant service that's dedicated to supporting mental health professionals and private practices. So they really specialize. They are specializing in administrative, operational, and client intake services. They ensure that mental health practices can focus on delivering quality care while behind the scenes work is expertly managed by their company. We talk all about Move Forward Virtual Assistants, their company, and also just like pain points of mental health professionals and why people might need a virtual assistant or a virtual assistant company. And then we really get into just entrepreneurship in general and being a woman and a women-owned business and things like that. Not that men won't benefit from this conversation, but it was just really interesting and cool to hear about how their business developed and their mission and their values and the kind of practice that they want to have to support people like us. So listen in, and as always, I hope that you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Welcome back, everybody, to the Empower LEP podcast. I'm really excited because today I'm hosting Meredith Eaton and Becca Marcus, who are here to join us today from Move Forward Virtual Assistants. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you
Thank
for having me.
you.
You're welcome. So Meredith is one of the two CEOs, and Becca is I don't want to get this wrong, Executive Director of Client Experience. She knows all the things. And I just feel like this is going to be a really interesting conversation because I think you have a lot of different perspectives in what you do. So in your business, you support people who have a practice as a mental health specialist of some kind, whether it be a solo practitioner or a group practice. And so you kind of know all of the front end and sales operations, like all of that kind of, and like kind of practice management, but you also know what people who are having these practices are experiencing. And so I think you can speak to that a bit. And then also this is an entrepreneurial venture yourself, you know? So I really want to dig into all of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Great. So are
Oh,
we.
Wonderful. So Meredith, why don't you start us off and tell us a bit about Move Forward Virtual Assistants and what you offer? And then Becca, of course, feel free to jump in with any details.
sure.
Yes, absolutely. Becca is definitely our details person, so I'll do my best. So Move Forward Virtual Assistant. We provide administrative support to mental health practices, as you said. We do that in a couple of different ways. So we have just what people think of, I think, when you talk about virtual assistant services. So admin help, scheduling, that kind of stuff. We also offer some billing support for clients that use insurance. That can be kind of complicated. And we also offer live phone services with our new service TheraRep. So for practices that have a lot of incoming phone calls, we can take that off their plates. And then to fill in all the holes in between all of that stuff, we have some consulting options to come in and just sort of, answer some questions about if you're using your EHR system to the best, if your systems and processes are as efficient as they could be, that kind of stuff. And Becca and I are both sort of major systems nerds. We love a good system. We love getting in there, figuring out efficient ways for workflows to happen and for just work to get done easier. That's really, I would say, overall, the passion of everybody at Move Forward is we want to let Jen and I have a saying, we like to let experts do what experts do. So in this case, we want our therapists to spend their time doing therapy, working with their clients, doing what they actually are in business to do.
Right.
And so anything that we can take off their plate that lets them have more time to do that, or more time with their families, or more time with their hobbies, like whatever it is. But the more things that we can do to fill that gap of nobody became a therapist so that they could do admin work, so that they could do invoicing, so that they could, yeah. So we know that, and we want to take that as much as possible off their plates and put it onto our plates because we love it. We are experts in it. So it just makes sense to us.
Yep, Becca, anything you want to add before I just like jump in? I have so many questions.
Yeah, no, Meredith pretty much covered it all. We just take what we'll do from A to Z, all your admin. Basically, I always say we like to, if you're an insurance practice, from credentialing through getting the client scheduled, through getting payment for the client, or if you're a self-pay practice, basically intake through the session. So pretty much everything, and then setting up systems and everything. So we'll do it
I
all.
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that is I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary of my practice, and that is something that has been the I mean, the business aspect of setting up systems, doing intake calls, getting people scheduled, following up with people who I didn't hear back from, getting them to fill out their paperwork, sending them their super bill on the at the I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
things that I didn't realize were going to take so much of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you get your business, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and it's so, and then if you build a practice with more people, those systems are so important because if you're like, okay, well, now I got to onboard a new person and now I have to, there are just so many things you have to have in place. And you just don't really think about it being that much of your time or energy, or that you might not be that skilled in it.
And I
Yeah.
think we're in a really like unique position of the fact that I mean, right now we're working with over 70 practices, so we see pretty quickly of what's working, what's not working. There's like 10 million systems out there. Like, how do you pick? How do you know what's working? Like, starting with a simple phone system. Like, how do you know what phone system to pick? How do you know what EHR to pick? But we have this really unique opportunity of we've worked with probably 50% of them on the market, and we're able to really identify what, makes sense. We were able to work with some really bad systems, and we've come into practices where they've had no intake and we're getting a really hard time getting clients, and we're like, just give us a chance, let's revamp this a little bit for you, and now they can't keep up. So I think we have that so we see pretty quickly what works, what doesn't work, what's being really successful, and how to really mainstream things and automate things to just make it work.
Yeah.
That's, I'm literally at a point where I'm considering a new EHR and phone system. So,
Yeah.
and then it's like a bunch of research. Like we have to go and do a bunch of research and figure it all
Yeah.
out. It's hard.
Mhm.
And I think there's
And
also a lot of like industry norms that kind of did really great with their marketing, and they got a lot of clients really quickly because they make it seem easy. Um, but they're not necessarily the best in the system, especially not evolving with all the world around us. So I think there's a lot, and there's a
Yeah.
lot to learn, and there's a lot to know. So
You think about those systems like take like an EHR and they like market as if, now that I'm an entrepreneur, I can, I guess, empathize with how hard it is to keep everything afloat when you start to get more business. So if one of those companies got inundated with all these people needing it, then they then have to like scramble and hire people and make sure their technology is good. And if somebody quits, then they have to train the next person. And so that this, it's just the customer experience. It's like you want everyone to see like this streamlined, seamless thing, but what's going on behind the scenes they might not be able to keep up, because
Mhm.
they're kind of startups too, right? Like,
yeah,
Absolutely.
and they're
Absolutely.
or it works
raising
really
their
well.
prices.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or you have the opposite where they came in really strong to the market. They established this comprehensive CRM and or EHR, and it's working and they have a ton of clients and they have little incentive to change. They have very little incentive to evolve or to
Mhm.
adapt or to be open. One of the big things that comes up a lot now is integrations. Can
I
they
think
integrate
I'm
with
in
your
that one.
systems? Yeah.
I'm in that one.
Yeah. You
or
might
like
be
John, it worked
benchmarking.
for you for so long, and like when you were by yourself or a few clinicians, like it worked fine, but there was no big picture view of like, is this going to work in 5 years from now? Is this going to work for my practice if I want to grow my practice? So I think,
Yeah.
we see that uniqueness of long term, big picture. It might work for a free phone system is great, but that's not going to be great for like long-term use of your
Yeah.
practice. Or so does it make sense to do it right in the beginning? Or does it make sense to like throw it together, figure it out, and then have to regroup? Which we deal with both. We deal with
Yeah.
clients who just, especially now coming off of the pandemic, of people that are just like, we had to learn how to go virtual really quickly, and we just have to like figure it out. But now are kind of ready to like start putting systems in place and start getting like everything ready.
Yeah.
Um, or people that have worked with admins forever that are ready just to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Are you are you in kind of like partnership or collaboration with any systems things that you talk about with clients as potential options for them to use, or is this just all like you're giving your best guidance based on your experience of
Yeah.
trying a bunch of different things?
So we definitely we seek to build relationships. That's I say we, Becca, seeks to build relationships with companies that we respect, that we feel really good referring our clients to, and that can promise us they're going to give our clients the same experience that we give them. So they'll treat them well. And so we do, but we try to have at least 2 relationships in every category. We don't ever want anyone to feel railroaded, like we have a partnership and you have to sign up because it's better for us than for you, or
Yeah.
whatever might be the case. So we try to at least have 2 that we have really strong relationships with, and then still have information and opinions about all the other main competitors to those 2. And if we can build a relationship that is, like I said, beneficial to our clients, like we're going to do it. We're going to, whether it means more seamless integration or a discount or just white glove treatment with your onboarding into that system, like that's where we're gonna be there, and we're gonna endorse that, but never at the detriment to the client. We're not super heavy-handed about it, because we just want what's best for every practice, and it's not always the ways that we make our decisions doesn't necessarily meet 100% of our clients. So we have the information, that we can direct them to other options as well.
Yeah.
And all the partnerships that we did evolve with over the time has been us approaching them because we liked their system or we worked in their system. It was never, about an affiliate program or anything like that. It was always like, we love your system. How can we make it work for our clients? And really, mostly, like Meredith said, the white glove handoff and making sure a warm handoff, and they're getting as much taken care of there as they are here.
Yeah.
And good customer service. So if something goes wrong, like, stuff happens. Some things are perfect, but we want it to be really easy for us or for the VA working with that practice to be able to just get it done, to recognize. And we've had partnerships that have ended because they weren't doing that for us. So we pride ourselves being pretty agile, pretty open to change, and so part of that is, if a relationship's not working, if it's not meeting our values or our needs, we walk away from it. We're not going to stay regardless of whatever's in it for us, because we have pretty high standards, I think.
Yeah.
And so, we're only going to work with people who meet those standards. And some of it isn't even just the way they treat our clients, but also just the way they treat us. Like our core values are front and center with everything we do at Move Forward. And so they have to align with anybody we partner with. So just the way that they treat us, the way they treat each other, their employees, like all of that we look at too, because that's just how we operate.
Well, tell me about, so the audience that listens to this podcast are a lot of educational psychologists who are either thinking about starting some kind of side business, or they already have, or they really want a private practice to be their main gig. And some of them are in that process of starting, thinking about it, and others are already doing it, but may need some support. Can you give me some sense of how you might support, like what are the options for supporting all different kinds of people in the 3 kind of different realms? And I guess where do you see people finding benefit in your support?
Yeah. Becca, all you.
I think it's really scary to just like make this jump of like jumping into this starting a practice of I think the admin part is so daunting to a lot of people, and um I think it holds back a lot of people from growth and from moving into this sector. But we're really here and want to see success for our clients. So I do all the discovery calls here at Move Forward. So I talk to a lot of clients about, where they're at with the process. And because we have so many different systems, in the discovery call, I usually like to really take it from a perspective of like, where are you at right now, and what support are you needing to be able to like support you right now, and where do you want to go? So some practices that are really just thinking about moving into the private practice sector of the world, or moving into a side gig like you were saying of, private practice, they have the liberty of kind of taking it slow. Let's do some consulting work. Let's set up your systems really well, and then we'll get you to start with a virtual assistant, and then they'll have everything in place. That's perfect for some people. Other practices are like, okay, I started this and now I'm in so deep, and like I don't even know, like I quit my other job because I was starting this, and now I don't have clients and I don't have income, and like I need something to happen. So we can have, our VAs jump in pretty quickly. We always have availability. We never have a wait list. So we can kind of get you started with admin to kind of start getting those phone calls and get all of that, and then work in tandem with that, with the consulting, to try to get your systems in place. Or a third option is just to use a virtual assistant. And our VAs are also really great at setting up systems. So you don't always need to necessarily use our consulting services to get your system strong. Our VAs, they all work with multiple practices, same kind of thing. I started off as a virtual assistant as well. And that's where I learned a lot of what works and what doesn't work pretty quickly. So they also have access to our CSRs, our customer service representatives. So if they are starting with a practice and they're like, there's nothing in place here and I'm struggling, the practice is struggling, like, can you come in and just help me like get it going? We could definitely, they have that resource as well. So we kept definitely like to meet clients where they're at and where their immediate need and their vision of their practices. I know Meredith is working on now, kind of just making a visual for that. We do have like a big ecosystem that Move Forward, and we want you to like fall into either where you fit mostly in our company. You could take it all, take parts of it. We're happy to place you where you need to be, and we want to be a win for everybody. So we want to work for our VAs, work for the client, work for the company. We really just want everyone to be successful in what they're working on.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, it's interesting to think about because our last year was I'm going to retroactively call it our year of yes, where every time a client came to us and they were like, "Hey, could you?" We're like, "Yes, we can do that." Whether or not it was something we had planned to be doing, and so that's how we ended up with launching the live call center TheraRep. That's how we ended up expanding and productizing a little bit of our consulting services, because people ask us questions like, oh, that's so much easier to explain it that way or to deliver it that way. So we did that. The billing services, like changing that. And it was our own kind of chaos. And we learned really quickly, like practice our own, what we preach, like get our systems in place. And like we started with a really good system. So it was all manageable, but it was sort of the same journey that a lot of our clients take. Just internally, we're just sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, now that we've got all this extra business because we added this thing, now we have to meet, and keep that balance back and forth through the year. And so I think it made us a lot stronger, and it did bring into relief that idea of this ecosystem because we had people coming in, they learned about the live call. So they would come in just for that and then be like, oh, wait, you also do this and you also that. How does that work together? Oh my gosh, it's confusing. So we realized, oh yeah, because we built one piece at a time. And then here we are, we're like, oh, we have to revamp our marketing and we have to revamp the way that Becca does discovery calls to explain how, because they all do fit beautifully together.
Yeah.
In any combination or percentage that the client wants, but it can be hard to conceptualize. And so we realized we needed to go, take a step back and like simplify it so we weren't adding overwhelm to the clients a little
Do
bit. So
anything you need. Yes,
yeah,
we can do anything.
yes,
Well,
absolutely. And that was really our goal was if clients said, can you do? We were like, yes, we can.
and so now, and as we were rounding out 2024 and your year of yes, which was also my year of yes.
Awesome. That'd be a line.
Yeah. What's 2025 gonna be? Your year
Our
of
best year yet.
Yeah, it is officially, we have officially called it our year of refinement. And so
me
this is
too. Well, I
what?
use the
That's
term
awesome.
boundary in my head so far.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's a good
Yes.
one.
So we have made commitments to ourselves and to our team that we are not launching anything
Yep.
in 2025 because it was great. We did so much. We launched so many things. But there's an energy and a cadence that happens with launches that is hard to sustain. So we need a break. We need a breath. And we did all this great stuff. So now we need to really dig in on it. One of the really exciting things we did internally this past year is we launched our virtual assistant certification program.
Mhm.
So every virtual assistant goes through this really, really intense program. It's both a combination of coursework and practicum hours and evaluations and tests. We're really proud of it. It's a very serious thing to be able to say that they are a certified mental health virtual assistant. So that was huge undertaking that Becca and our executive director of team experience, Lorinda Marlin, that they undertook. And it's great. It has solved a lot of our own challenges with onboarding new VAs and all that kind of stuff. But it needs refinement. We found some things. Oh, we need to put more content on this. We need, because we've been using it. So just being able to take that breath and sit back and be like, now we're going to dig down and make this even better. Like our first draft was great, and now we're going to make it outstanding, and then kind of go from there. So,
And then you're gonna package it and let other
and then
people
we're going to
take
package it and we're
this.
going to sell it. We're actually debating if we were to try to do that this year, does that count as a launch or does that count? Because we have some software products that we started this year that are probably going to get revamped and re-released this year. So we've decided this is semantics with ourselves, but that's a release. That's not a launch. So that's okay. That doesn't
Right.
violate the rules.
It's a refinement.
It's a refinement.
It's a refinement. Yeah, it's helping us to sell what actually already exists or, whatever. So,
Yeah.
So we're still debating a little bit is packaging the certification for sale in 2025. Does that count as a launch or a refinement?
Refinement.
That's okay. Yeah, I'll pass that on.
You just want it, so it'll be
I know.
I do. I want
know.
one to do it.
I love
Well, and I think it would be great. I think a lot of people, and really it's just a matter of taking out the stuff that's so move forward specific.
Right.
And, so it's not a huge task, but it is something to
yes.
work on.
Yes. Well, okay, so tell me what are the biggest pain points you feel like people face, and how do you get around like, oh, I can't possibly afford to pay anybody to do this stuff? If you had everything put in place, how much, like how do you talk about that in terms of how much money that's going to actually save you or make you?
Mm-hmm. One of the ways that we talk about it, and I'm going to let Becca talk more about this because she's the one who actually has the conversations, but we encourage clients to think about how much you earn in a session. So 1 hour, whatever you're earning in an hour. And then if that hour is spent on admin work and things that are not in your zone of genius, things that are not fun, but are necessary, what is that cost trade-off? So if you could, what are you going to pay per hour to outsource that and then get that hour back? You can earn X dollars in that hour. So that's the first sort of big picture way that we encourage people to think about it, because it can feel like I can't, small startup, like I have no money. But like, think about if you're doing 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week of admin, if you could fill that with client, how much money would that put in your account versus the hourly rate going out? So, and then I'll let Becca go more in detail.
Yeah. And then I also just think I always talk about first of all, we have options that start with like a super low monthly rate of just people who are interested in just being part of a community and talking about, and Jana, that's kind of how we met actually, is in that community. People who just want to like meet with other peers and talk about, what their pinpoints and Kind of, I know a lot of pinpoints, and a lot of the thing is like kind of just even like decision paralysis of like there's so much out there. What do I do? And what have other people had success with? So even if you're just starting off with a practice and you're like, I just need a little support, meeting once a month and chatting about it, we have a super reasonable monthly entry fee of kind of having that community. There's a chat channel. You can ask questions all the time in there. So that would be one of like, I really have zero money to spend right now. I'm trying to like make this work. I'm trying to start this, but I don't know. I'm like on my own and trying to figure it out. So that's obviously one starting point. But then there's
TheraThrive
also,
is
and that's called TheraThrive, the community, and you could definitely check that on our website. But then some other pieces also, I know, Meredith, you talked about your investment of like how much does a session take, but then also how much are you missing not having good systems in place? So how much are you missing of how many phone calls are coming in that are not getting answered? And like I know me, I'll keep calling someone until I get if I'm like I need to get psychological testing for my child and like this needs to happen, I'll just keep calling down the list in psychology today until someone answers me. Um, so if you don't have admin in place or you don't have a system for your phone calls or you don't have like, our live call services or whatever you have in place, you could potentially be missing all these calls, which could be income to your practice. So there's that piece as well of just kind of thinking big picture of yes, it might be financial right now, but how much return are you going to be getting on it? I always say in discovery calls, our VAs pay for themselves. They, between getting the intakes, also, I mean, also financially, like John, I know you said really big news that you're able to turn your phone off and be with your family this week. Of like that might, financially that's not helping you out, but you're also present for your family and present in your life.
Yeah.
You had admin that was able to take care of things for you.
Yeah. For
So
the
I think
just for the community, what I said before we went on air was that this was the first week that I've ever turned my business phone off. And actually, it hasn't even been to spend time with my family yet.
that's okay. That's okay.
whatever.
It's been because I really want to take a vacation. Like I'm taking some time off. Taking a week for the holidays, and I don't want to have to write a bunch of reports while I'm there. And if so I had to try to get everything that wasn't immediately urgent or anything that I could give to somebody else to do. I needed to get it off my plate so that I could have some deep focused work time. And this was actually the only podcast that I kept on my calendar. So
I
you should,
appreciate it.
yeah.
You.
Because I really want to take a break. So I needed to have focused work time. And when you are on top of all of the things that are happening in the business all the time and in that nitty gritty, like you are the admin, which is what I have been doing because I've had such a hard time finding an admin who's worked out. And now I have one who's working out. And so it was the first time that I felt like I could just be like, okay, I'm putting my phone on do not disturb. I'm not going to get these calls and I'm not going to be like, is she going to answer it? Or is she going to get back to that person? Or did she see that text message? Or, I mean, the level of anxiety that I have had now this week has gone down tremendously because it has just been like out of sight, out of mind, kind of out of mind. But like I'm allowing myself to let somebody else handle those things, which are just consuming. And I am not being an effective educational psychologist if I am always thinking, if my mind is always pulled from like an email, a phone call, a text message into that mode,
Yes.
it's like notifications on your phone, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's amazing that you're able to do that. Like we're so excited and I'm so proud of you because you kind of touched on it, but it does require a decision and it requires a little bit of bravery and it requires sort of a commitment to move into this realm. And when it's your baby, it's your business, it's your livelihood. It's so hard. And we see clients that have varying levels of ability to do that. And some that don't stay with us for very long is because they can't actually let go. So they're paying the money, they have the system in place, but then they're constantly doubling, they're double checking and they're and it's like, why are you paying? You're just more stressed now because you don't know what's going on. And so that is a milestone for a business owner. And it's, yeah, you should be so proud of yourself. Pat yourself on the back because that's amazing.
Thank you.
And what I hear when you say that to me is I hear that you had trust in your admin. And that's something that we take super seriously and move forward because you had trust in your admin, you're able to focus on your business, which is also another stream of income and for your business of like thinking big picture, having CEO time, thinking of like being able to take that step back and really get your reports done so you have room in your brain to think about other things, right?
Yeah, or just
Exactly.
take days off and not have to
Yes. And like
be doing that. Because I know there's, deadlines and stuff where you have to get reports done. And it's just to be able to not have to bring that home with you during the holidays or during a random weekend, June, like whatever it is that you want to do, to be able to do that. And it hurts our heart when we talk to people or have clients who can't take that leap, who can't just try to let go. Because we just know they're missing out on opportunities for their own growth, for their business growth. And it's just so stressful. Especially because I don't know, just for me as a CEO, I have to make these choices of like what I can control, what I can't, what I can sit on and worry about, and what I just have to like trust my team to do. And I'm very conscious about that because I'm very aware of how much I can have in my head. And I'm very aware of what stress level I can handle like on a day-to-day basis. And so I'm very conscious about saying, this is not going to be a thing I'm worrying about until someone tells me I have to worry about it. I trust whatever Becca, I trust, whoever's running this thing, they're going to let me know when it happens. It helps. I have a co-CEO and she has a higher capacity for things in her head. So that lets me have a little more freedom to do that. But it is really, it's transformative, but it's not easy.
Right. Well, on that note, Meredith, I'd love to hear a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how Move Forward came to be, because I know you had other things going on before that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've been entrepreneurial pretty much my whole life. I've had a few jobs working for, companies, and I don't do great at that. I'm not great at with authority, with people telling me what to do. I was raised by hippies, like I have to do my own thing. So I pretty quickly was like, yes, entrepreneurial. I have to be in charge, and that's what works. So I had a company that was doing management consulting, and a friend of mine suggested I meet Jennifer Crawford. She was a mutual friend. She was like, the two of you, I don't know why, but you two have to know each other. So like, go have coffee. So at the time I was living in Northern Virginia, which is where Jen lives now. So we met for coffee and we just were like, yeah, we're the same entrepreneurs. Like our brains work the same way. Like, and so we would just have coffee, I don't even remember, once a month, I think. And within, I don't know, 6 months, we had done our first venture together. It was a conference. And within like 2 years, we had this idea for another virtual assistant company called Sparent, which supports small businesses with general admin. And we use stay-at-home moms as our labor pool because we realized I was a wildly underused talent pool. There's women who are just so good at multitasking, who have these amazing skills from the workforce, but are making this really, really important choice to be at home and to support their family and raise their children, but either want to keep one foot in the business world, want to keep a resume a little fresh, want some kind of break from that world, or simply financially need to have some revenue. So that's how we built that company. And we started that in 2018. And it really was doing great. And in 2022, we were approached by someone that this company Move Forward was for sale. They knew we had another virtual assistant company. And Jen and I were like, oh, we're not buying a company. Like, that's crazy town. Like, we're not buying a company, but we'll have the meeting. We'll learn. It'll be a thought experiment. And all the way up through, we're just like, we're not buying the company, but we'll get the financials. We'll meet with the broker. Well, why don't we just talk to our accountants too? But we're not buying this company. And then we bought the company. I don't so that was June 2022, and that was quite the experience. So the move forward was started by a woman, Allison Pigeon, who is a therapist, had a practice, and saw this need for specifically mental health trained admins. So she, being an entrepreneur herself, started a company, but pretty quickly realized this wasn't her passion. It's just she didn't want to be involved in this running this agency anymore. It is hard. It's a lot of moving pieces to run a virtual assistant agency, especially with specialized mental health, because you're always all these HIPAA things, and it's just a lot going on. So she just wanted, but she really wanted to hand it off to someone who would run with it, who would love it and grow it, and not just like a venture capital firm or private equity. So that's really why we're able to buy it, because she was willing to work with us and be very flexible on the terms and stuff, because I don't want to get, but like it was hard for us to get financing, as it is for most women entrepreneurs. Very difficult. So Allison was willing to finance it for us. So that was what made it happen. So I don't want to make it sound like Jen and I were sitting on piles of money that we could just throw in there, because that's not really, a typical entrepreneurship journey. So yeah, that's kind of, and then we just found ourselves just literally hit the ground running from day one. Got in there.
No joke. Hit the ground running.
She already had clients that they were supporting, so you kind of took over those. Do you still have your other company?
We do. We still have Sparent. It is actually it's a really interesting experiment, because we were so focused on systems and making it scalable and sustainable, that when we bought Move Forward, we didn't intend to abandon Sparent. We thought we could do both. We had no idea what we're walking into with Move Forward and how many moving pieces. So basically, Sparent ran itself for a year. We hardly paid it any attention. All we had to do was once a month go in and like run payroll and occasionally answer a client email. But we were sort of like, wow, that was an experiment that worked out even better than we could have predicted. Like, that's amazing. So it only really coasted for about a year, and then it started needing some support. There's just so much that anything can live without help. So now we're sort of entering this other phase where we've been, we just talked about this morning, keep it, sell it, merge it with Move Forward. We don't know. But we decided that we're going to take 6 months and we're going to run our own experiment and sort of document the process of seeing if we can reinvigorate Sparent, or whether we build it back up and have someone run it, or we build it up and sell it, because it's sellable right now, but we feel like it could be better. And we sort of are, again, now that Move Forward is sort of like smoothing out, we think, knock on wood, I'm going to jinx us all over the place. We're expecting 2025 to be a calmer, more predictable cadence of work. So we're going to do another kind of experiment and see, like, we have a plan, like 4 hours a week. Can we do it? Can we bring Sparent back to what it was before we abandon it, or to some other version? So that we've been in this weird, we don't want to let it go. We don't want to, Move Forward needs all of our attention and needs all of our love, and it did. And so that's sort of the entrepreneurial side of me and Jen. And now we're going to like take this on and see what happens and document it. We're working on a book right now that should be done by the end of the year or January. That is just sort of this basics of building a sustainable business, how to start with a foundation that will scale really well, which is basically what we did with Sparent. So we want to get that book out so we can then write the second book about the like reviving and, managing company like Move Forward, and feminine leadership is our next big topic. So I think that's going to actually be our second book is
I love that.
Doing business like a woman.
Yeah. I love that. No, my new admin said to me, she goes, I said, I've just had the worst luck with this. And she said, well, have you had a mom in this role before? I said, no. And she goes, well, that's your first
That's good.
problem.
That's
Yes.
true.
I mean, I am in awe of these of women who are moms and businesses and just moms alone.
Hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like their brains are super powered. It's unreal. And
Yeah.
that was what we learned with Sparren. And we took a lot of those lessons into what we did when we made a lot of changes and moved forward when we took it over because it was just we have a different philosophy about business. So we had to make all that happen at Move Forward. And so much it was based off what we knew. And it's a woman-owned company and a woman run. It's entirely 100% women on staff and not on purpose. We're not screening, we're not denying men. Um, it's just something
It's just
about
how
the
it,
company
yeah.
that is not drawing men, and I fine either way. But it is a lovely experience to as especially in my nearly 50 years on this earth, it is rare to be in a virtual space or a real space with just a bunch of smart, empowered, high achieving women. It's
Uh-huh.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so we have meetings and we just had our like end of year gala virtually, and it's just so fun. And it's just so nice that we're all women and we're all sort of, we can tailor. My husband walked by during our gala and I had this like flower headdress on because the theme was goals and bloom, right? Is that the theme? Goals and bloom?
Garden, yeah, garden.
Yeah. So, and he just was like, that would not work at my company. It probably wouldn't. And that's okay. Because I
Yeah.
like our company. I like that we do these things. And so,
Yeah.
you know, it's just nice.
Well, let me ask you, so like it sounds like you probably made a lot of changes that move forward because the person who ran that business was a therapist and you were
For business
a
people.
a business
Yeah.
person. And so I can anticipate there being things that you would change. So as you took over, how did you all learn how to specialize with mental health? Like, how is that?
The company was already really specialized in that. And that was one of the things that really drew us to it
Mm.
because one of the challenges we always had with Sparent is we just supported kind of all small businesses so that it's easier to market when you're niched. It's easier to do. So we liked the fact that this was already niched and we just doubled down on that. So we went really in depth into making sure that all of our VAs are really experienced mental health virtual assistants, not just admin people who are working for a mental
Right.
health practice. But and that's what the certification was really about. It's a huge chunk of the certification that is just about mental health, like all the different, terminologies and trauma informed care and you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's not just that they know how to use an EHR, but they really understand how to interact in the mental health world. And everyone we hire has some kind of background, whether it's in nursing or mental health itself, or something in that field. And that was pretty much true when we came in, but really what we focused on was retention. There's a lot of turnover of staff and a lot of turnover of clients. So that was our number one thing, was that stops, because we firmly believe that turnover is a profit destroyer and it's pernicious. And a lot of people don't think about it that way. It's like, oh, well, people are interchangeable, and we don't come at it from that angle at all. So we immediately, everyone was hourly, everyone was being paid these crazy different rates. This was a really good example of a system that had sort of started and then it just sort of it got Frankenstein, as a new thing came up, they sort of solved that problem, a new thing, and they solved that problem, but they weren't thinking holistically.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against the people who are running the company. That's just, that happens so much. And
Mhm.
that's sort of where Jen and I specialize, is being able to see the infrastructure and what it needs to be. So we just really quickly changed all that. We put everyone on salary. We made everyone paid the same. We made it very fair pay, because we want people to work here because they want to, but also we want them to feel respected and valued to the extent that we can. So we immediately instituted 4 weeks of PTO because it's a high burnout field. And that's something in virtual assistants in general, but especially in mental health. we don't want that. We want them to have a lot of time. One of our core values is that we really believe in the integration of work life, not even just a balance, because work-life balance, there's always like one is up and one is down. But if we can look more for integration, that is we feel more holistic. So, so those kind of changes, and then really unifying the level of support, what we are promising the client, making sure all the VAs understand the promise, because, Becca's doing the discovery call and then she's matching to the VA. And so we realized there's a little bit of a gap there, that the VA didn't always know what was happening prior to them starting. So we changed all that one. Another one of our core values is transparency, authenticity. So we try to make as much information. We always struggle with like, everybody doesn't even know every little thing, because again, people can only hold so much in their brains. So we're always sort of like, we want them to have the context in the information. We don't want to overwhelm them. So, we're always, but so we just make ourselves available. Anybody can set up a meeting with me or Jen anytime they want, ask any question that they want, and we'll answer it. And then we met with every single client that was on the roster at the time. We realized we had to raise prices, and that was immediate. And the greatest thing was that I would say 80% of the clients said, "Are you raising the prices because you're paying my VA more?" And we said, "Yes." And they said, "Great, I'm in," which was such a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Just like, yes, that
We
is
had full retention, didn't we, Meredith?
yeah, we had 100% retention
Wow.
of the team, which that was, more than we could have ever. And I think we only had like a 5% or less drop off of clients as a result of the price increase. And some of those clients their prices doubled just based on what they were getting before. And they stayed because, Jen and I met with them. We explained what we're doing, all that kind of stuff. And so to this day, we have very low turnover of clients or staff. And we love that. That's like our biggest marker of success, I think.
And I think it's even getting lower with the new certification.
Yes.
And,
Yes. And everyone is really learning. We had, another like learning moment was having the original staff and then hiring in new people. They're, getting the original, sort of the original cast, if you will, to recognize the changes that we're making and the way we do things a little bit differently. Was just that we didn't anticipate that. It was really interesting thing, but I think we're finally now, 2.5 years, merged. Like we do have very little of the sort of old stuff coming in of, well, I thought we did it this way. We haven't done it that way since we bought the company, So,
well, that's great. Yeah. It's so, kind of big picture wise, I'm just hearing, when you have a company, you're having to constantly think about how to improve everything, every system, every person, whether it's staff or clients, everything. And so, it's not, I always say like, it's really just not easy to
not easy.
run a company.
And having employees, this is my first experience. I've always worked with contractors. Even at Parent, we had subcontractors. So this is my first experience with full W-2 employees. And that's a whole different ballgame. And the level of stress that like I'm responsible. These people are supporting families in some cases. And like I can we have to keep the clients, because oh my gosh, like that's an amazing responsibility. And we brought, when we took over the company, I think there was 12 VAs and we're up to 25, I think, right now.
And they're all employees.
Yes, they're all W-2 full-time employees. And that is, and that's our other approach. Doing it that way has a lot of advantages, but one of the advantages is from the client perspective, much less likely to have turnover,
right? Because
they're much more anchored. But also the other piece for the client perspective is as an agency, because we have this whole pool, if your VA is on vacation, we do coverage. The person is just as well trained. It should be no interruption in experience, service. And if for some reason it's not working out, we switch it out, so we really talk about like, you're not just contracting with a VA, whole agency, all of our knowledge, all of our skills, all of our availabilities are there. So it also hopefully, because that is one of the fears is the experience you've had where you sort of cycle through it. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's demoralizing. It's expensive. And so that's, what we think is one of our advantages over just going on your own and finding someone is that we kind of take that off your plate and have this guarantee that we can support, fix, backstop, add on if it ends up being you need more help than just the one. And so that took a lot. That's a lot of behind the scenes to be able to maneuver. So we were like not overstaffed, but have enough room to do coverage for each other and to like have maneuverability like that.
Right.
Yeah, this I think will remain my greatest entrepreneurial challenge of my life.
Oh, absolutely. And you think about how when you are employing people, and if I want to hire someone to do something and they're employed by someone else who's giving them an employment experience where
Yes.
they have a salary, they probably have benefits, they're bought in, they're not like piecemealing different jobs together and then, oh, like squirrel over here, they're offering me something good, I'm gonna just go, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah, that's
same thing,
exactly.
like for the employees to feel like they have some protections too. Like I just had somebody was out sick and had to cancel a bunch of clients, like an hourly, a person who has
Mhm.
hourly sessions, not one of my
Right.
psychologists, but one of my other providers. So, I mean, I'm like, oh my God, the amount of feelings the parents have about their sessions being canceled on multiple occasions because of this, right? Like,
Mhm.
which obviously we can't help, but I, as the owner, feel all of that stress.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like I of course don't want anybody to have a negative experience, but that person's the only person who can do their job with their clients, right?
Right.
So, but what was cool, not for me, but what was cool is I was able to say, like, hi, actually, and you have sick time to use.
Mm.
And she was like, I do? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're my employee. You get 40 hours of sick time a year, right?
Mhm.
So she was like, oh my gosh, thank you, right? And so of course I'm like, but
Yeah.
I think, when you are able to employ like just like the employee experience, like, okay, I didn't show up, but I work here, I'm employed here, I get
Yep.
paid even
Yep.
if my clients didn't show up and I was sick or, it
Yep.
like
All
that's
of that.
different than having your own, being like, well, I could just go out and do this on my own. Sure, you could. And
Yep.
if your clients didn't show up or if you got sick, you would not get paid, right? I mean,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I I
Yes,
feel
that's
like,
that's the whole piece of it. Yeah.
yeah,
And that we take that off of our clients' plates and also all the HR stuff, all the like, if it's not working out, if you have an issue with something your VA is doing, or do they just need, a slight adjustment to their process, that's not always a comfortable conversation that everyone can have. So the client can call Becca and tell her, and then Becca has the conversation or Lorinda has the conversation, and you don't even have to worry about it.
yeah,
The situation gets fixed.
yeah,
And so just take all of that off your plate. And yep, that's we handle all those headaches of like,
yeah.
oh, we offer everybody 4 weeks of PTO and we offer the client full coverage. So that's a system we have to figure out to
Right.
meet both of those obligations, and we do.
Yeah,
But that's what we signed up for, and that's what the experience we want for our employees. We want them to feel good about the company they work for. And
yeah,
our first core value is that we approach everything with humanity, and I think that's been not anywhere on a lot of the agendas or values for most of corporate America.
yeah.
And we're really, we're just a tiny little company, but we're trying to make a difference in that sense and to show people like you can expect more from your company, from
Yeah.
your employer. We don't pay the most. You're not gonna like be a millionaire working here yet. Maybe, I don't know. You
Maybe
know,
someday.
we always assume, when good things happen, we pay it right forward to
Yeah.
the clients. And Jen and I always say we're like the least important people at this company. If we didn't show up for a couple of days, not a big deal, right? But if Becca didn't show up or one of the VAs didn't show up, big deal,
Yeah.
big problem.
Yeah.
So we definitely, we pay ourselves the same as the lowest pay rate in the company. If we want a raise, everybody has to get a raise because that is how it makes sense. It's how it works. Because why, we can't say, oh, we can't do XYZ, you can't have a raise because our big salaries are taking 80%. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's also, I think, a uniquely feminine approach to things. It's much more collaborative, it's much more team. So
Yeah.
a lot of people think we're nuts. It's partly why it's hard for us to get any kind of funding or small business loan, because it seems like we don't know what we're doing because we're doing it different.
Yeah.
Because we're leading with humanity and equity. So that's fine because we're gonna, we're gonna start our own equity firm that we're only going to support women, and do this. That's our like long-term
Yeah.
goal from this, because that's been very eye-opening for us in this journey as well.
Absolutely. Well, okay, so let's wrap it up, but I want to hear Becca is going to wrap it up. I'm going to put you on the spot and basically ask you, like, when people call, what is kind of like, I don't want to call it like your pitch, but like, what is like
Definitely on like no.
the pitch?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
how
I
do they
definitely
and then how do they find you?
yes. So I definitely every discovery call is different. So I definitely don't have like an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Because I really like to customize it for where the client's at and what the clients need. But I guess overall the conversation is what could we do to take the admin responsibility off your plate so that you could get back in the seat of doing, therapy and seeing clients, or, doing testing or whatever you need to be doing for your clients that you went to school for. Let us take care of what we went to school for. You take care of what you went to school for. And then you'll have a successful practice because we're all doing what we want to be doing. And that's kind of the gist of all the calls, and basically let's figure out what that means to you. And I always say a good place to start is start writing down a list of what you're like when you're working on something and you absolutely hate that you're doing it. So like I know some people are like, I hate calling clients back. Like that's my number one thing. I need to hand it off today, or my practice is gonna like totally plummet. I'm like, keep that list and bring it to this discovery call, and we'll figure out where to get started or what makes the most sense for your practice. So yeah, I love the discovery calls. So definitely come. Even if it's, you want to kind of find out more information now for a vision that you have in 6 months from now, or you're just thinking about starting private practice and you want to have a chat if some of our services can help. We're definitely open to that. Just having that first conversation, it's a carefree, commitment-free conversation in the beginning. You can find us on our website at moveforwardvirtualassistants.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as Move Forward Virtual Assistants. I think on Instagram we're Move Forward VA.
Yeah. Move Forward VA. Yeah.
And then as well on TikTok as Move Forward VA. Our TikTok is not, we're working on it, but but yeah, that's the gist. And I would really love to chat with whoever has questions or additional follow-up from this podcast. It's one of my favorite parts of the call is just hearing the needs of everybody and the clients. And that's where we really take back, I take that all back to Jen and Meredith, and that's where we kind of develop systems and processes from of like, I've heard 3 times this week that people want new HR systems. So like, how are we going to support the community with that? So, and that's where we'll create new systems. So come talk to me. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you both, Meredith and Becca. Thanks so much. And yeah, I hope that the audience has gotten a lot out of this. And I strongly encourage people to call, and we're going to continue our conversation as well. Yeah, but the Thrive community has been nice too, because it's just like-minded people chatting about things business-wise and kind of I think my favorite part of that is just, it's not even like the teaching part. Sorry, ladies, but
That's
like
okay.
it's like getting to bring questions to people who might have different insight, who are also business owners. And so that's been nice.
Yeah.
That's our favorite part too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks so much for having us. This was fun.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. This episode is brought to you by Overwhelm to Impact, your LEP roadmap to independence. This is a 3-week career and business coaching intensive for school psychologists who are looking to make a career shift to working as an LEP. You do not have to be a school psychologist trying to make that shift. You can be at any point in your school psychology journey. You can be at any point in your LEP journey, but this mentorship opportunity is designed to give you a jump start into going from overwhelm to impact in your own small business venture. Rather than getting into real business logistics, this one's really going to get to the heart of what we do and also what happens inside ourselves as we are dealing with things that might be a little bit risky, a little bit different. It is brought to you by my business coach, Mr. Scott Robeson, who is absolutely amazing. And I've basically convinced him to offer this opportunity to my audience because I think that what he's done for me has been completely life-changing, and I'm hopeful that this will be the same for the group. So you can still join this cohort. It does start in January. In order for you to take advantage of this opportunity, go to empowerlep.com/Coach Scott. Thank you for listening to the Empower LEP podcast. Episodes can be found at empowerlep.com. If you liked what you heard, please leave a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to connect. I would love to learn more. I can be found at Jana at empowerlep.com.